Resident Evil is known for its deadly monstrosities, some of which were created by Las Plagas. This parasitic infection quickly brought destruction to an entire village and an island. But have you ever wondered where these enemies originated? Hey! Welcome to my channel, everyone. I'm the globalcherry, and today we'll be discussing this today. Before we begin, subscribe, like the video, and enjoy the show.
I've sent my right hand to dispose of you.
Your right hand comes off?
Las Plagas predates Umbrella in the Resident Evil saga, reproducing and embedding itself into hosts. One of the most notorious groups to harness its power was Los Illuminados, a religious cult led by Saddler in the village of Valdelobos. The cult viewed the parasite as a divine gift, believing it cleansed people of sin. Their practices blended elements of Roman Catholicism with human sacrificial ceremonies. However, their influence was brought to an end by Gregorio Salazar, who ordered the persecution and execution of its members. After his death, his descendants continued his mission to uphold Catholic dominance in the region, including the 7th Castellan Diego Salazar. Diego and his wife Catalina gave birth to the 8th Castellan Ramon Salazar, who was plagued by a severe illness with little hope of surviving into adulthood. Desperate for a cure, they sought help from Saddler, who treated Ramon by injecting him with the dominant plaga. However, following the treatment, Diego was murdered and Catalina mysteriously disappeared. Orphaned at a young age, Ramon inherited the castle and over time fell under Saddler's influence, abandoning his faith to embrace the ways of Los Illuminados. Saddler manipulated Ramon into believing that his family was cursed for suppressing the plaga. As he grew older, Ramon became increasingly cruel, pouring vitriol onto a servant's face for mocking him and forcing the entire region to convert. With the Queen Plaga under his control, he commanded powerful hosts, Verdugo and U3. The creation of Salazar's guards began with a mad scientist named Isidro, whom Salazar tasked with perfecting human hosts by merging them with arthropods. He must have seen Human Centipede. His first experiment resulted in Novistadors.
Damn it!
Massive insect-like creatures capable of blending into their surroundings. To create them, Isidro needed a pure, malleable host. He abducted castle maids and implanted plaga-infused embryos into their wombs, forcing them to give birth to monstrous offspring that later metamorphosed to these creatures. Taking his research further, he fused human and insect DNA for his first Verdugo experiment. To prove his unwavering loyalty to Salazar, Isidro injected himself with the plaga, mutating into Verdugo, now encased in a hardened black exoskeleton with an insectoid form. He retained his intelligence and focused on eliminating Leon Kennedy. Another of Isidro's twisted creations was U3, also known as Placenta. Once a loyal housekeeper, she endured a nightmarish experiment out of respect for Salazar's late father. Despite Ramon's cruelty, she remained in his service, ultimately transforming into a grotesque monstrosity. Now she lurks in Valdelobos, relentlessly stalking Ada Wong. From the moment she arrives at the castle, the Zealots served as Salazar's loyal followers and enforcers within the cult, defending his castle, conducting rituals, and taking up arms against intruders. They were initiated through baptismal ceremonies during which plaga eggs were implanted into their bodies. This process left them highly susceptible to infection, turning them into mindless slaves under Salazar's control. Before his infection, the Garrador served as the castle's torturer. Under Salazar's command, the Zealots dragged him deep into the dungeon and injected him with an enhanced plaga, granting him immense strength and uncontrollable aggression. His body underwent transformations, developing retractable claws, a gladiator-like physique, a heightened sense of hearing, and a visibly exposed plaga on his spine. However, the infection robbed him of his eyesight, leaving him blind but dangerously sensitive to sound. Deemed too volatile, he was locked away, his agonized screams echoing through the station. Yet Salazar kept him alive, assigning a caretaker to feed him and tend to his needs, ensuring his rage would remain caged until our emo boy set him free. Lurking in the darkness, their heavy armor clanking with every step, the Armadura are cursed suits of armor that attack intruders in the castle's shadowy corridors. Without living hosts, the plague of parasites infest these hollow shells, lying in wait wait until a suitable host passes by. Beyond the castle walls, village chief Batoras Mendez once served as a Catholic priest in Valdelobos, offering guidance to his people. However, Los Illuminados gradually swayed him to Saddler's cause, using his influence to convert the villagers. In return for his loyalty as the cult's new priest and Saddler's trusted lieutenant, he was gifted a dominant Plaga, granting him absolute control over the Ganados.
Lord Saddler.
The Ganados were once ordinary villagers who lived a simple life, rejecting much of modern technology and attending church services led by Mendez. However, after Saddler's arrival, they were conscripted into excavating Las Plagas from the mines beneath the castle. Those exposed to the Plaga spore soon became delirious and feverish, suffering from violent seizures, heavy coughing, and agonizing headaches that felt as if their skulls were split open. Villagers who remained outside the mines were coerced into a gruesome blood-cleansing ritual. Entire families were infected, leading to the deaths of every child, while the surviving adults were left emotionally hollow and mindless. As a result, they abandoned their livestock and crops, worsening an already dire famine. Among them was Dr. Salvador, once a respected physician, now a relentless executioner driven by the Plaga parasite. The infection inside him progressed to the point where it burst through his skull, forcing him to conceal his mutilated head beneath a burlap sack as he wielded a chainsaw with ruthless efficiency. One of the most tragic creations of Saddler's experiments was El Gigante. These towering monstrosities were once human infants, subjected to the horrifying Plaga implantation at the cervical vertebrae. The parasite triggered uncontrollable growth, causing them to reach 4 times the height of an average human, while developing immense strength and stamina, but at the cost of intelligence and control. Reduced to feral beasts, they rampaged through the village, devouring what little food remained. Among the Ganados was also the Bella sisters, mysterious figures who concealed their faces beneath blood-stained bandages. Once ordinary villagers, their lives were forever changed after exposure to Saddler's parasite, which granted them enhanced physical abilities with the chainsaw at the cost of their humanity. Del Lago was a massive salamander mutated by the Plaga parasite, growing to over 20 meters in length. It possessed several rows of razor-sharp teeth, tentacle-like appendages, and no discernible eyes. Highly aggressive and uncontrollable even by the cult, it was left to guard the lake, where it was fed corpses to keep it appeased. The Colmillos were once ordinary dogs that coexisted with the villagers before being infected by the Plaga. Their teeth mutated into jagged fangs capable of burrowing deep into their victims, and their glowing reflective eyes made them easily identifiable in the dark. The Island Ganados were a militarized faction within the cult, serving as Saddler's final line of defense. Among them was JJ, a towering soldier enhanced by the Plaga, wielding a minigun to eliminate anyone who stood against the cult. The same brutal modifications were given to Warhammer soldiers, who had thick metal plates welded directly onto their faces, rendering them unrecognizable.
Witness the power!
Jack Krauser was once a highly skilled soldier and Leon's former trainer in a classified government program. However, the loss of his men during Operation Javier left him bitter and disillusioned, leading him to seek absolute power. This pursuit ultimately turned him into one of Saddler's most devoted disciples. Though Albert Wesker had no direct presence in Resident Evil 4, his influence loomed over the events. As a well-known antagonist, shaped by years of cutting-edge bioresearch, he orchestrated Ada Wong's mission to retrieve the Amber, a preserved organ containing the same biological structure as the dominant Plaga species. The Regenerators were grotesque abominations created through relentless human experimentation by Saddler's research team. Multiple Plaga parasites were implanted into each subject, causing uncontrollable mutations. Their bodies became gray, elastic, and nearly indestructible, with additional mouths forming on their heads. Upon completion of the experiment, the first Regenerator killed 7 researchers and wounded 19 more. Saddler then subjected the remaining scientists to their own experiments, spawning even more of these horrors. A more vicious variant, the Iron Maiden, developed an even deadlier defense mechanism. They could tear open their stomachs to regenerate and form new plaga growths, while their bodies sprouted needle-like spikes to impale their victims. One of the lesser-known threats was Martinico, an enemy introduced in the Separate Ways DLC. A deformed test subject despised by researchers, he relentlessly pursued Ada Wong through the laboratory. Lastly, we have Saddler, whose origin story intrigues you the most in Resident Evil 4. If you enjoy these kinds of lore videos, feel free to leave a like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts on these backstories. Thank you for watching, and that's all.